Hi, I'm really excited to bring this Christ Revealed interview to you. Let's go ahead and jump in. Well, so here's the thing that I find really uncanny, is that from, let's call it the general societal context outside of Christianity, most people would say you have to ignore facts in order to adopt Christian views. And you're and you're coming here saying we're relying on the facts to adopt the views.
Yeah.
How do you solve that problem? Because you're out there doing the debates. You've done, I think you said 650 interviews. So this is your life's work. You're writing, you're public speaking, you're debating, etc. But and even after all this, there's such a mischaracterization. How do you think that is overcome?
I think you have to. I would say, you keep giving them the data. Mm-hmm. Keep asking them for a viable explanation, mm-hmm. not any old explanation, a viable explanation that can account for the data as well as yours. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, even if they're your best friends, I have a lot of skeptic, agnostic, even guys who are skeptical or agnostic New Testament profs who mm-hmm. I've become friends with over the years through dialoguing huge names. Mm-hmm. And they might get upset with me. They might, but I think there's a lot on the line here. Mm-hmm. Let's put it this way. Real mundane example. There's a lake out here behind my house. Mm-hmm. A few years ago, I had a friend of the boat with me, and I caught a large bass mm-hmm. out in the lake. I pulled it in, and I looked around the little lake, and nobody was out in their yard. But darn it, if I'm going to catch a bass like that, I held it up and I went, "Whoa!" Nobody heard me except the guy in the boat with me. If I'm going to tell you about the bass I caught, my first child being born, now we're getting a little higher, right. The new job I just got, mm-hmm. how I got a publication, mm-hmm. and you're one of my best friends, so I'm going to say, hey, what about those Packers winning the Super Bowl last? We talk about those things. Right. All right, now if it's about your faith, or if I can help you because you're going through an issue with the high school child, and I was already been there and done that because my child's a little older than yours, we share those things. Right. If it's as mundane as a bass, as important as, let me just give you a point or two that I found out about my son. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you because we're friends and I care about you. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to be cocky, but if I have good arguments for what I believe, and you're not doing a very good job refuting them, to be frank. If I talk about the bass, should I tell you about reality? Mm-hmm. If I tell you about my first child being born, should I tell you some new evidence I found out for Jesus? If we're good friends and we're fishing, mm-hmm. I don't play golf, but I mean, if you're doing that kind of stuff and it's just any old thing, why wouldn't I throw out there, I care about you, so I'm thinking this is something about, we've talked about religion before. I just discovered something you might want to hear. Did you hear that story in the radio? Did you hear they just discovered XYZ? Mm-hmm. That's normal conversation. If I'm in the driver's seat and I have the data, mm-hmm. I feel pretty comfortable. And if you're the guy getting beat on because you're not read up on it, yeah, it's not comfortable. Mm-hmm. But if I know you care about me and our families are close and the child, the bass, that's life, I'll let you go a lot further. I trust you enough to know that you're not trying to dog me. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of this, two things go together: good data and friendship. Good data and caring about the person. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to take your scalp mm-hmm. in a quick lunch mm-hmm. and then go, hey, nice meeting you. We'll probably never see each mm-hmm. other again. And I can go one more as I walk away. Mm-hmm. No, but if we're fishing buddies, we're golf buddies, I think friends can push and tease
or even collegial discussions, with other people who are, leading an intellectual life in whatever realm they're doing it, and have a collegial conversation. It should be stimulating.
But you have to be fair too, and Christians can be as unfair as anybody else. But I think about Richard Dawkins today, who says, now what would you rather have? Do you want the sciences, or do you want it all on faith? All on faith. That's what the Christians say. Either he's really silly and hasn't studied it, or he wants a bad caricature. And then he starts this thing about where he calls atheists the brights. The brights in society. They're the bright lights. And religion is, horrible and leads us to war and everything else. Just deal
on
with
that,
the data.
this is the question that I had, is that I'm wondering if a part of the challenge or the problem is that, because listening to your approach on all this, it seems faith is a mischaracterization of what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and that in and of itself, I think starts to, misbrand Christianity.
Does.
And so because the words are important, because basically say, okay, this is my faith. But yes, I understand. But there's a maybe a generic definition of faith, and maybe
That's good. That's good.
what you mean. So because
I mean belief system.
Yes.
And to me, that means
That's
facts. And you
yes.
think I'm saying I take it a faith. An illustration I often use is coming to Christ has a lot similar to marriage. You might date somebody for years. You might know somebody better than anybody else in the universe, even their parents. You don't say I do, you're not married. I'm sorry. I mean, it's just the way the rules are. You don't say I do, you're not married. You can be best friends.
Right.
You can know them better than anybody in the universe. You want to spend more time with them than anybody else. You don't say I do, you're not married. Faith plays a role, but in marriage, you spend a lot. It's a silly person who wakes up in the morning and somebody's in bed with them. They have no idea who this person is. And they look down and there's a ring on their hand and they go, what was I drinking last night? That kind of stuff makes movies, but it's kind of silly. We get to know somebody and we say, I don't think I can live without this person. Right. So then we say, I do. The faith commitment, and that's what it is, for better or worse, rich or poor, till death do we part. That's the icing on the, we've been hanging around for 2 years and I love you with all my heart and I want to be with you, so I'm going to make a commitment to you. There's a difference between a groundless commitment and a grounded commitment. It's not the person whose ring is this that I find the next morning, oh no, I'm tied down. That's not Christian faith.
Thanks so much for joining us for this interview, for taking this Christ Revealed journey with us. Remember, if you haven't already, subscribe. That way you'll get notified about all the new content that's coming down the road. Comment. People want to hear from you, and then maybe you'll encourage somebody else to make a comment. If you did like it so other people know that it's something good for them to watch. And finally, share this. Send links to other people that you know and care about. Cost you nothing but maybe a few seconds of your time, but it might have a massive impact on their life. Anyway, really excited to be able to share this information with you. Thanks for tuning in.